It's useful to break this into two parts. You've got the transformation agenda and you've got the ongoing operate agenda. So with transformation, an example could be M&A, it could be taking advantage of a new strategic opportunity, it could be growth into new markets, say geographic markets. And that is really around ensuring that you're optimized to take advantage of that opportunity and to ensure you execute your strategy. And people are trying to go from A to B and understand what B should look like. Under the operate, it's really about ensuring you execute on your plan. And I think this is where people miss the boat the most, particularly when thinking about organization design. In the book, I call it making it real. How do you actually ensure you achieve the things that you're going to achieve? And how do you know you've achieved them? And how do you continually build on that? The list is literally endless. So it can be by simply ensuring you've got the right competencies and using competencies to drive better engagement, better flow on your job, more enjoyment, happiness. It can be as simple as ensuring you actually have the right numbers and you're actually tracking you've got the right numbers and you can present to the board or to the market that you've achieved the targets that you set out. How often do people actually go back to their business plans and see how well they're doing against it? It's far too rare. So the making it real phase is really about ensuring you're achieving the things that you've said, where you're not achieving them, reacting to that, and also dealing with how the world evolves. Maybe some of those objectives you set yourself are no longer relevant and there are new ones or new opportunities. Obviously lots and quite varied. One of my favorites is I love process-led design. I love defining the processes and then working out who's spending time doing what. And with that, you get a ridiculous amount of information around the actual cost of the underlying processes. And with that information, you can start to see ridiculous things that are happening in your organization. And examples with one financial provider that their claims handling was 4 times more expensive than they thought. It was costing them 4 times more. And the sales team was spending hardly any time doing selling, hence them not achieving their sales targets, and all their time doing customer care and complaint handling. So just by understanding that piece of information, you can start doing root cause analysis, start changing the processes and the structure, and getting the sales force to align on what they should be doing, which is selling, and dealing with those underlying issues, which drove dramatic improvement. So an example with post-merger integration, several times you look at having these organizations come together, you understand what is the as-is, what is the current organizational numbers by role. Then you go into the to-be design, so how many of each role do you need and how should that be structured and what do you mean by the role, so what work should they be doing. And then it's about saying, well, who should get which role if you're in a scenario of redundancies and cost savings. And doing that through a competency-based approach. What skills and experience and behaviours, particularly behaviours, do you need for each role? Collect the data around the behaviours and the competencies. Understand who should get which role and who should go through a redundancy process. And then manage that in a fair and transparent way. The key by being data-driven is you take away the gut feeling, the unfairness, and the ambiguity. You also can increase the speed of execution and the way that everyone perceives the process. If it's fair, even if you're the one that's leaving, you're going to be far more content with that outcome than if you felt it was done by dark rooms with guys smoking cigars making decisions. I think the biggest barrier for doing this right is dealing with politics. I think the biggest barrier is doing things for the wrong reasons to try and placate people and to organize around people. When you're doing organization design, inevitably you're doing design around people, and those could be friendships, those could be power plays, those could be ambiguities that are thrown up, curveballs that are thrown to you, and dealing with those aspects give the biggest risk. And my experience and my own failing as well, knowing all this theory, where I have let the people politics and people's own personal motivations override good business logic for what made sense, is where we got it most wrong. One step at a time. Don't try and do everything that's in the book all at once. It will overwhelm you. I think use good common sense business logic. Start with the fundamental questions, which is, what is the business strategy? Why are you trying to achieve what you're trying to achieve? And really focus on prioritizing the most important things and articulating that really, really clearly. It's not easy to do. Once you've got that, then you can start to go down a more deductive approach of designing the organization and do it at a step at a time. Very often a new CEO or business leader will arrive and they will want to make a change, and so the change that they decide to make is to change the organization. And what they're really thinking about doing is changing the organizational structure. I think you have to be very careful about changing your organizational structure. It's not always necessary, and more often than not, it's probably not the answer. So before you go through a wholesale, what I call macro design change, really think about the business case and the justification, the case for change. You can achieve a huge amount by doing a lot of the elements in the micro design, which are not nearly as disruptive and will get you a lot of the way.